going to come up here and talk on a local perspective. Meegan is the owner of AbleVu, or formerly Able Eyes. If you know, we worked with Able Eyes to create a lot of virtual tours that Know Before You Go became so important, and it became very important during the pandemic when things were changing and people didn't know what was happening. It was nice to have that comfort of knowing, like, okay, if I have someone that has challenges getting in a door or has noise, sensitivities, then how can I make sure that I know what we're getting into before we get there, so I can help set the stage no matter what it is. So Meegan created the Able Eyes platform and then transformed it into AbleVu, which is now a really detailed catalog of everything related to accessibility about many of you. We are the first certified AbleVu destination in the nation. So granted, we would like to take some credit because we did a little bit of work with me, but it's all Meegan and her husband Evan. They have barnstormed across this community, making all this information available to everyone that lives here and everyone that looks to find information. So we have Meegan sit up here and answer a few questions with us today. And appreciate Meegan also because we kept referring to her. I enlisted Meegan to join myself and Kristy on our adventures yesterday, today, and tomorrow, so that I had an extra knowledgeable person with me, so that I learned how to disassemble the chair and get it in the van. We did have an accessible van, and we do have a great source here. You can find that on our website, which we'll show shortly. But they don't take corporate insurance, so good to know. Lots of lessons learned on Kristy's visit on airport, lessons learned about room setup. That's why we had to flip it. So we have some maybe technical things that probably the facility people don't love having because we didn't think it would sit as well and everyone could see Kristy. So this is a accommodation that was made to make sure that the room was comfortable for all. So we're going to have Meegan come up and just have a conversation with us. And then we're also going to be joined by Cathy Blatnik. And Cathy is with Mid-Michigan Autism Association, known her since like 2018, as I mentioned. She has been a guiding spirit for us to do the work that we've done up until now. Her son Dominic is on the spectrum and has a lot of other medical issues that hold him back and make her job to be his advocate very strong. And she has done that since he was born, basically, since it was figured that he was on the spectrum. My greatest moment with Dominic was when we were together, and every time that Cathy brings him to me, he's always with her. She says, "Say bye, Miss Julie." He's like, "Bye, Miss Julie." And the last time that he was here, he looked at me and he said, "Bye, Miss Julie." I was like, oh my gosh, he said that without prompt, and he looked me in the face, which was like this huge growing moment. And I think we were both like nobody talk about it, just happened. It was good. So I treasure Cathy, and I'm going to invite Cathy and Meegan to come up and answer a couple questions, and even from you as well, just to give a bit of a local perspective and also talk about some of the other, we actually had a lot of physical disabilities discussed and hidden and invisible disabilities, which they can talk about. They've done a lot with us as well on neurodiversities and other autism and on the spectrum. So, being green, blinding. So I'm just going to start out with a really easy question. And as you saw, we had some microphone challenges. I'm going to grab that one over there now, but you can share this one up. Just introduce and how you became an accessibility advocate.
My name is Meegan Winters. As Julie mentioned, I am the co-founder of Able Eyes and AbleVu. My background, or how this all started, is I was a special education teacher for many years. I taught students on the autism spectrum in particular. I worked in the Jackson area at the Wild Art Center. I loved teaching so much. It was the most rewarding job. But I noticed a need in the world when I was doing that the families that I worked with just weren't having the same types of life experiences as families that don't have a child with autism or a disability. And I remember thinking, like, there has to be something, some tool that helps people have meaningful experiences. So one of the common characteristics for a person on the spectrum is like difficulty with transitions, maybe doing things new for the first time, doing something out of routine. So For example, when we would go on a field trip, let's say the AbleVu trip, we would create social stories and visual schedules, and we would take pictures, and we would take videos, and we would talk about it 2 weeks ahead of time, like all of that. And there was 4 staff in the room, so we had all of these resources. And as you can imagine, there is no family on the face of this earth that has that kind of bandwidth to do that, to go to the grocery store and go to the doctors, and like all the things that they have to do. So, again, and we have an EPA, which has made some great gains in the area of physical accessibility, but there really aren't any accommodations for people with invisible disabilities. So I was at a conference in Chicago many years ago. I saw a virtual tour for the first time, like what you see on Google Maps, where you can put your spaces. There were many faces in here. So many people know what it is, but I just thought, what if every business had a virtual tour? Like, what if people could just see the accommodations that they needed by looking on a website, and they could see it ahead of time, and how that would decrease the anxiety and increase the likelihood that they go to that place. I did not pursue it at that time. It was a great idea. The other part of my story is one of my best friends, Jessica, was a wheelchair user. Usually, I should have sent a slide. I love to show a picture of Jessica. Her and I were best friends. Well, she's one of my best friends. Her and I lived together in college. We went to CMU, so if there's any chips in here, fire up chips. And we had a really great experience, but I also learned a lot about physical accessibility and some of the needs. And so we used a lot of public transportation. There were 2 accessible vans on campus. We would call a van, they would come pick us up, and you cannot get dropped off someplace and not know if you can get in the door and not know if you can use the restroom. So what we did is we went to the same 5 places on campus pretty regularly, and really didn't veer outside of that. And that's true for so many people, that they go to the same 5 places, and that is twofold. It's limiting that person's experiences, and it's also limiting the businesses that are those businesses that those people are going to. And so Jessica, unfortunately, passed away in 2015 as a result of her muscular dystrophy. Project as that was, and very much is the driving force behind everything that I do today. I know that this was an idea I had and talked to her about plenty, but her passing is what actually gave me the kick and behind I needed to pursue this thing. I was an assistant principal when I left the school and flipped my life upside down. Gave up a great salary, gave up my family's health benefits, and became an entrepreneur. So started our original company, AbleVu, which is still a virtual tour photography company providing virtual tours for the purpose of accessibility. So virtual tours have been used for years for marketing, which is and if you expand that lens just a little bit, it becomes something so much more powerful. So most virtual tours start in the door, and they show public spaces, and it's helpful. But if you just go out to the parking lot and show the entrance to the door, show the exit door, go into the restrooms, show the accessible stalls, then it becomes something so much more. And so that's what we do with AbleVu. Originally, AbleVu had a map on it that was you could search for businesses all over the U.S. that had virtual tours. So this is where we started, and very, very grateful for the support of this community. But we are now nationwide. And we originally had this map on there. Well, we realized that one of our barriers was that we were preaching equity of access through virtual tours, but virtual tours were not always equitable to all businesses. We work with coffee shops and ice cream shops, and we work with universities and hospitals. So, we wanted to create a tool that actually was equitable to all businesses. Long story short, I did a pitch competition that was kind of like a Shark Tank. Specific for tech companies. I ended up winning that competition last year. We went through this amazing partnership with a fantastic company. We created our second company, AbleVu. We pulled that map out, and we created what I like to describe as the Yelp of accessibility information, but without the bad reviews. No bad reviews. So with that, businesses can highlight all of their accessibility features and accommodations. Virtual tours can be a piece of it if that's a tool that they have, and if they don't, that's okay. It can have photos, text information, a list of accessibility features that we kind of lead them through, We're only showing what businesses have or what they choose to share, not what they don't. We're not grading or rating or judging or slapping anybody's hand. We really just truly believe, and Kristy spoke to this too, that information is so important. And so by having an AbleVu profile, businesses can use that URL link. It can become their accessibility landing page and really open up so many doors and opportunities for people. So that was, sorry, I don't even know how to do that any shorter. I tried to talk fast. But there's nothing that I feel like I can about that story. But so that's how I ended up in this space, and that's what I do. I will let Cathy take it because she has an amazing story as well.
Hi everybody. Can everybody hear me? I'm not like Meegan. I can't talk off the top of my head. But I'm a mom to 3 children, and my youngest is Dominic. He's now 19. He was diagnosed at 2.5 with autism, ADHD, anxiety disorder at 3, and epilepsy at age 10. I'm a really strong advocate because I live this life every day. Before the sensory-friendly events started in the Lansing area, our family, we were very isolated. We stayed home. We didn't go anywhere because bright flashing lights and unexpected noises could trigger an epileptic seizure for our son. He's had, I think, 25 or 26 seizures. The most recent one was about 6 weeks ago, so it's not 100% controlled. It was a really isolating and lonely time. I became a board member of the Mid-Michigan Autism Association in the summer of 2015. I'm going to just abbreviate and call it MMAA. We're a nonprofit organization founded in 2008. We currently have 13 board members, which I think is the most we've ever had. And we're all volunteers. We don't get paid, but we have a personal or professional connection to autism. Through that organization, Julie Pingston and I met for the first time briefly at a Wharton Center sensory-friendly event about 5 years ago. Bob Hoffman introduced me to her and I said hi, and then I took off and did something else. I don't remember what. When She Was Lansing was in those early days of starting their sensory-friendly initiative, I knew I wanted to get to know Julie better. She is one of the few people that I know, I can probably count on one hand, that is passionate about disability, that doesn't have a child with a disability. I think Meegan ranks up there too. I have told Julie many times that I don't want another family to feel like ours, that's really isolated and lonely. That has been and continues to be my driving force in assisting Lansing to be accessible to those of all abilities.
Mic drop. All right, so I'm glad we have both microphones working, and I will tell you why. I was at a presentation once about accessibility and disability, and someone, not to pick on you, Chris, but said, I have a loud voice. I can handle that. I can speak up. But for those that are hearing impaired, maybe you can't. Maybe they need to hear it through a speaker or a controlled audio sound. So that is why I'm always passionate about microphones. And I don't have a loud voice, so I always really do appreciate the microphone. So we obviously just heard a great presentation from Kristy and gave a really good information about a lot to think about. We had a few examples of good and bad, even right here. For all the things that have happened over the last 5-6 years, how do you think we're doing as a destination from your perspective, because you work with a lot of people around the state and around the country?
Obviously, being that this is where everything started for us, I again will say how grateful I am for this community and all of the people that believed in us super early on. When I was, some of those early presentations, I chuckled even thinking about it. Like, I was so just green and bright-eyed and excited and passionate, and now we've come so far. But I have been, we work with a lot of cities all across the country. We have a program called AbleVu, Accessible Cities, that Julie mentioned, Lansing being the first. Not only is it the first, but it is highly, way more highly concentrated than any of the other cities. So the criteria for becoming an AbleVu accessible city is a city that has a minimum of 5 hotels, 5 restaurants, and 5 attractions that have the AbleVu information. It started as AbleEyes, so it used to be virtual tours, but then we wanted to make sure that no business or no city was left behind, and wanted to make sure it was the more affordable option. And so there are a lot of cities have 5, 5, and 5. They're like, okay, well, we want the certification, like, we're going to do this 5, 5, and 5. I think we have over 100 virtual tours in the Lansing area, and probably 50-ish of them are on AbleVu. All of them probably can be on AbleVu. Any of the ones that were done prior to the launch of AbleVu are just transferred over for free, but the business just has to fill it out. Like I said, most cities that we work with are just starting, and we even work with, like, we just brought on Tampa, and they're just starting, and this is not to say anything less of them, but they're just starting at 5, 5, and 5. And then, we'll work to work with more businesses in those communities, but Lansing has really, really stepped up and made accessibility and inclusion a priority, and I think that there's so much to be proud of right here in this room.
My answer to that question. Thanks, Kristy, for your presentation. That was very eye-opening for me, too. Choose Lansing started out collaborating with our organization in making Lansing more sensory-friendly to those with autism. They quickly saw the need to expand disability awareness and accessibility for all abilities traveling to this area, and they did something about it. They've worked and continue to work on making Lansing a tourist destination for all.
You're next. I'm going back to you. I'm giving you a double, since I was tours. So Cathy, you've done a lot of that here yourself to make that happen in our community with creating sensory toolkits and doing trainings. Can you talk a little bit about the specific things that have been partnered in with many in this room and how we see that going forward?
In November of 2017, through the Mid-Michigan Autism Association, we started a conversation with Impression 5, and I see Michaela over there. It's a hands-on museum in Lansing about hosting a private event. Coincidentally, around that time, they told me they were in the process of creating a sensory-friendly event or sensory-friendly hours. From that initial conversation, we decided that our organization, the Mid-Michigan Autism Association, would host a private event in April of 2018 to see if there was any interest. We had 117 people come, so we knew that we were kind of onto something. Since we did see that interest in the sensory-friendly events, I reached out to the Grand Rapids Children's Museum because I saw on their website they offered sensory support. My thinking was, why recreate the wheel? If someone else in Michigan was already doing it, I would just ask questions. So I sent an email to the person at the Grand Rapids Children's Museum, and I asked them different questions, like, do you have to purchase the items in the sensory toolkit, or are they donated? How many sensory kits do you have available for the patrons? After discussing the idea with the other board members of the Mid-Michigan Autism Association at several of our board meetings, in early October of 2018, a former board member and myself brought the idea to using sensory toolkits to Impression 5. They told us that they wanted to be the first organization to pilot the sensory toolkits. And if you don't know what a sensory toolkit is, it basically is either like a backpack or a container, and it contains different items that a child or an adult can assist them if they're feeling overwhelmed by one of the 5 senses or one or more of their senses. The items currently inside our current sensory toolkits include headphones, fidgets, and communication boards. Since that very first toolkit, we have donated close to 125 sensory toolkits to local organizations and businesses. Since I have had my son in an ambulance more than one time, it was a personal mission of mine to get the sensory toolkits into Meridian Township, Lansing, and East Lansing fire departments for their ambulances. I'm proud to say we did that literally 2 weeks before COVID shut everything down. So it's like just in the nick of time. We've also been offering free sensory awareness trainings throughout the Lansing area, both in person and virtually, for about the past 5 years. We saw a need for these type of trainings early on and created a short PowerPoint presentation. We currently have 3 MSU students that are either going for their master's or doctorates on our board, and it's usually 1, 2, or all 3 of them, myself or another board member that has a family member with autism, and we give our real-world perspective. Our trainings are really popular, and we're about booked up 2 to 3 months in advance. And that's it.
They may have had the questions in advance.
I would say related to sensory and what we try to do is we're always trying to promote the things that the Mid-Michigan Autism Association and really organizations across the U.S. are doing in relation to sensory-friendly events and just creative ideas and experiences. For us, as I mentioned, we are focusing on more than just physical accessibility and want to make sure that we're all encompassing of sensory sensitivities, autism, anxiety as well, and dietary. So on AbleVu, we have, in our list of accommodations, we have things like sensory toolkits, sensory rooms, so we have some gluten-free, dairy-free options. So I'm really trying to make sure that, again, people have that information ahead of time. So if those 120 places have those sensory backpacks, that's really powerful information for a family to have ahead of time.
Can I interject something?
You can interject, Kristy.
Talking about this and all of the ways to help prepare, I just want to throw out something that you can do as a business owner and something that could be really useful on the site, is if you are a place that doesn't do reservations, if you are a dining establishment and you don't do reservations, make it known to your families with disabilities that they can call and request a dining time. Allow them to make that easy, reasonable ADA accommodation to get a reserved time. My family cannot wait on a wait list for a restaurant. We can't do it. There is no way everybody, and I'm not just talking my family, is going to be miserable if we try to do that. So instead, we'll call an establishment and set up a time, say we'd like to come in at 9 o'clock Sunday morning for your brunch. Could you please make sure that we have a table in a quiet area? And if you make it known that you do that, you will invite families with disabilities to enjoy your establishment more. And you can do the same thing with checking into your hotel.
That's a great point, Kristy.
So the next question deals with DEI. We've heard a lot in the last few years about the elevation of understanding of DEI and having that be a cornerstone for many businesses and really addressing where inequities have landed. So how do you think accessibility fits in with DEI?
This might not be a popular opinion, but this is my opinion. I think that accessibility should be pulled out of DEI and kind of be its own thing. For a couple of reasons, I think that DEI is incredibly important, like all aspects of it. However, it's very polarizing. Like a lot of the topics within DEI are very, very polarizing. And someone said this to me the other day, and they said, accessibility is one thing that's not polarizing. Like it's really just like something that across the board everybody knows is the right thing to do. So there doesn't have to be this is right, this is wrong. If you're doing it, people know that accessibility is a super, super important topic. All of these topics are important topics, please don't get me wrong on that. But it's different. And it is secondary too. Because DEI, a lot of organizations have gone, oops, we didn't include accessibility in there. And so then they just add an A at the end. DEI. And then they include accessibility. So it's almost like a stepchild of DEI anyways. So I think that accessibility is kind of something on its own, but again, that could be just my opinion.
I think diversity, equity, and inclusion committees tend to focus on the gender, race, and ethnicity, and it's not always part of the conversation. And with 1 in 4 identifying as having a disability and wanting to travel, it should be. I was asked by Julie to be a member of the Choose Lansing's Diversity, Equity, Accessibility, and Inclusion Committee in late 2020 to represent the disability population. Through my experiences with my son and meeting many individuals of all abilities, throughout the years, I no longer see the world just through an autism lens. I see the world through a much broader view, and I think that has helped in making accessibility a more integral part of the DEI conversation.
Very nice balance, ladies.
Great
I love that.
I really want to change my answer.
And that is some of the conversation related to accessibility is where does it fit and how do you prioritize it? And I feel in our organization we have from the first day made it DEAI and had it be part of our accessibility, because that's what we started. We started with 5-6 years ago with this. So then now we've been adding in all of the other elements of DEI and understanding and we use the word inclusion a lot more just because that is the word that really gravitates to everybody. So thank you for your perspectives. I appreciate that. Our last question is a quick one, hopefully, but what's just one simple thing that you think people could do to make people more understanding of the importance of accessibility and inclusivity?
I'm going to say this without trying to solicit myself, but it's obviously something I'm super passionate about, is information. Whether it's an AbleVu profile or whether it's just information on your website, Kristy mentioned it too, having one spot where people can find all accessibility information. They don't want to dig through and like try to find these different pieces. They don't want to call, and that's why we have a spot on AbleVu where people can actually ask questions like confidentially, because there are two types of people in the world. There are that I come into contact with. There are people that are very comfortable advocating for themselves, asking, demanding answers, getting answers, calling, but there's also the other end of that spectrum, people that don't want to be a nuisance, people that don't want to bother people, somebody that might not be comfortable disclosing their disability. So I think it's just really important that somebody can confidentially find the information that they need.
I have many friends at all ages, all abilities, and I think a lot of people, when they see somebody, they see the disability first and the person second. I'd like to flip the narrative and see the person first and the disability second. On any given day, one of us could become disabled. We could walk out of the middle of Michigan Avenue, get hit by a bus, and, well, that's kind of graphic, but...
A scooter.
Why do they always use a bus?
It wasn't a team bus, it was
Dean transportation bus, no.
Actually, my son has been riding Dean Transportation for 16 years, and they're incredible. So it's amazing. Bus drivers are like family. So, okay, maybe not a bus or a scooter. But it can happen really quickly. Your life can completely change and be turned upside down. So my last thought is, wouldn't you want, if that happened to you, wouldn't you want for everybody to see you as a person first and not your disability?
Well, thank you, ladies, for your perspective. You've both done so much with advancing our community through your passion and through your advocacy. And we thank you for being part of this whole accessible journey for all of us. So thank you. And I told Meegan she could give a commercial. A lot of times she's asked to speak about things and she can't give a commercial. So well done, Meegan.
And I hate doing it.
And she does hate doing it, but she did it. She did it well. So I blew past these slides earlier, but I thought they were probably two of the more important things to show what is helping us set some of our directions and where we're going. Destination Analyst is a firm that does a lot of really great research, and they did a visitor sentiment every week of the pandemic and are still doing it monthly. So we relied on them for all kinds of data. So I trust their data. And so they did a survey to those with identifying with disabilities. And so the question here is, which best describes the issues that cause you or anyone you regularly travel with to have difficulties or challenges while traveling? So a lot obviously gravitated, almost half, to mobility and physical impairments. And then psychological issues, which is some of the neurodiversities that we talked about, vision issues, cognitive or learning issues, hearing issues, and a small percent with none of these. So obviously, all of these are a lot of issues to address as us as business owners or individual citizens of our community. So how do we start to tackle some of this? And I feel like we've all started some really good work, and we're going to show you some of the things we have coming up. The next slide has some aspects of people who are traveling with some kind of challenge or disability. What challenges do they find, and what things are the most difficult? Visiting our attractions and our events, and this is what we want them to do, right? So how do they get around the transportation, social issues, that kind of seeing the person second and seeing the disability first, using public transportation, inconveniences on board. I'm assuming that meant airlines, so it wasn't clear on that one. But visiting state, local, or national parks, shopping and retail establishments, using taxis, Lyft, Uber, etc., dining in restaurants, extra costs not borne by all travelers, lack of good travel information, availability of accessible hotel rooms, and other issues in hotels and lodging. So far and away, the leader was the visiting attractions or events, and I am not one to read off a slide like I just did, but I am aware that there is someone in this room with low vision, and so I feel like when you say look at the slide, that person maybe can't look at that slide. So another thing to take into heart for this. So now we'll jump back to some really exciting things about what we've done. So we took all the words to heart. When someone said don't have people in your destination, be a detective and try to find this information, we heard it from everybody. Meegan said it a lot, that's the cornerstone of her business, and we've been able to benefit from the information that she provides. We also knew that we had a lot of information to share. So we have, and none of them are in the room, but our marketing team, Amy Lucas, she took it upon to create a whole new landing page for accessibility. Our information previously was under plan your visit, find accessibility. It was a little bit deep. So now you can find it, you go right to, and Beth Jesperson is going to show maybe a live version. We're hopeful, had a few technology challenges in this day, but we'll see if this one goes through. This is what it looks like when you pull it up. So we have all the information, and then categorized down there by the bottom where things to do, outdoor recreation, hotels. Oh, there it is. And that's how you see it. We also have taken this image and put it on, as you can see over here on the trade show display. We put accessibility right there. Kristy was the one who told us she went to a trade show with I don't know how many destinations, IPW, if you're familiar, Kelly Marymount, that she didn't see. I think she saw one with accessibility portrayed as something that is about their destination. So we went ahead and
through the entire place looking for it. And I found one destination that had a little itty bitty teeny tiny picture. Not Mesa, not San Antonio, which calls itself Inclusion City USA. I mean, no, not Orlando with Walt Disney World. Nobody had any marketing that included
except Lansing, Michigan now.
It's awesome. I love it.
And we have that on some of our welcome boards around town as well. So Beth's just going to show you then how it looks, and feel free to check this out on your own, but here's all the things we kept. There's our Able Eyes. Amy was there's me. Amy went through a special certification. I am a certified autism travel professional, so I'm there to answer questions for people if they're looking for that information. I would most likely send them to my friend Cathy, but I have gone through that certification. So we have all this information now, very categorized, not seek and find. It's still coming together. The last piece that is not complete that I really was hopeful would be complete today was when you open Lansing.org, up at the top would be an icon for accessibility. So it's right there on the front page in the corner. It'll probably come tomorrow. They'll probably finish that tomorrow with our third-party website firm, so we're looking forward to that being added as well. So then we took it, the battery died. We're out to brand new technology. So then we took it a step further, and we partnered with Michigan State University School of Hospitality Business, and they went around with 3 individuals who had hoped to be here today, but they had class, and they're doctorate students, so they had to present at this class. And they 300 of our local businesses and just gathered information. So they gathered if your bathroom, your public restroom in certain facilities had a turn handle on the sink or a lever on the sink, that makes a difference to people. So each one is now, we highlighted the Lorton Center, so that now we always had overview, we always had a map, we always had amenities, but now we have accessibility features. You click it, and then general will tell you that there's a virtual tour available. What is the main door width? It's 36 inches. The main entrance automatic door opening, yes, they have that. So we didn't say things that you don't have or things that are bad. We just said what
might help somebody get more information. So this is the Morton Center for Performing Arts page, and then you could obviously click over to attractions, parking, public restroom information, and all of that is checkboxed. So we feel we have a really comprehensive inventory, is what we've called it, of our destination and what's available. Kristy and Meegan and Cathy, I think, all mentioned about presenting it your own way as well in your own local businesses or what you promote. And so to the right is a slide of the Morton Centers. I think they've done a really good job of having that section on their website and showcasing then how accessibility can be found at the Morton Center, whether you need sign language interpretation or you need to come to a sensory performance, whatever the case may be, it's all right there. The next one. And then we did the same with all the attractions, obviously, but here's Potter Park Zoos, and another one that I feel has done a really good job of presenting all the information themselves about their accessibility and what they've done. Mariah Martinez is over there very shyly in the corner because she doesn't like credit for all the great things that she's done, but our zoo has been nationally recognized by the AZA for the work that they've done and through Mariah's leadership here in Potter Park Zoo. So.
Yeah. Also on our board of the Mid-Michigan Autism Association.
Board member.
Cathy.
Thank you. So they were really excited now to have this out and live in person. Beth Jesperson, driving our computer today, did a lot of the work with the data side of it, getting it on this website, getting it populated, and probably now having to keep it updated because we already figured out, like, you know what, we didn't have sensory room available, and now we know of 3 sensory rooms in the community at Impression 5, the Breslin Center, and Potter Park Zoo. And I don't think we asked that question. So it's going to be ever evolving and ever changing. As you have things that come up and make sense to add to this, please do that. You know, if you got a renovation and something changed, this is a great way that we have to do that. So because the marketing team's not here and I do rely on them for a lot of this information and what we're doing, I have to tell you what's next. So, yes. And they're not here because they have to help me do it. So I can say whatever I want right now. So the main thing is to raise awareness. That's what we started. This is kind of a kickoff in my brain of kind of where we're going next as an organization and as a destination. You guys do all the work. We just get to promote it. And so you create all this, you do all this. And so how can we help promote all this? So it's raising awareness. We're looking at different certifications. We'd like to become an autism certified destination. So we will look at that in 2024. And then adding back in the training that we had for autism through Mid-Michigan Autism Association and even disabilities in general. You all need the information too, and how can we better serve you by providing those training opportunities. We want to showcase the accessibility throughout the community. So how can we raise the platform and not be shy about the great things that we have to offer and the great things that people are doing in this community. So we're continuing to put that forward. A couple other programs that we have talked to the airport about. We had scheduled Wings for Autism, really snappy logo up there and everything. That was to happen in April of 2020, and I'll know what happened to that event. So we're hopeful to bring that back in this coming April, which means it gives people that are, have neurodivergencies to go onto an airport, go into an airport, go through the TSA, get it through the gates, go onto an airplane, and pre-do that before they may have to then go on a real trip. So this is something that we're really looking forward to bringing back. There's also a program called the Sunflower Program, which is for hidden disabilities. So if you wear a sunflower when you travel, and especially through many airports, that would be recognized internationally. And then you don't have to say, I need this, I need accommodation, people will see the sunflower and lanyard or a pin, and then they're like, okay, we've got someone that we probably should not lose their luggage and, and things like that. So we're looking at that. We've talked about in the toolkits the emotion boards. Those are on the top right there. We have a couple, obviously the ones in the toolkits are small handhelds, but the ones that we're looking at are in a couple of locations anyway, Potter Park Zoo and Parks in Delta Township. So how can we get more of those? Who can do that? And that's another thing on our list. More sensory toolkits and more sensory rooms, working with MMAA on that. A really cool thing is we have the far right, those glasses. Those are red-green colorblind glasses. They're out in 2 locations right now. They're at the State Capitol Building and the Potter Park Zoo. And they are being tested as just something that can be checked out by a guest that's there that may help them see that attraction or that location in a whole new way. And so those, we'll be getting more of those, and then we'll be able to promote that as something like anywhere in this destination, you'll be able to find those glasses that will maybe make your experience even better. And the last thing is, I have the label, so if you grabbed it when you walked in, they're over here on the counter. I only printed 50 because I was trying to conserve paper, but if you want one PDF, I can also send it to you if you don't want to take the paper. The playbook is by Travelability, and to me, I found that a really great tool. It's something that was put together with just all these helpful tips and tricks and ways to understand doing small things like moving a trash can and what a big difference that can make. In terms of hotels, attractions, other businesses, restaurants. So please grab one of those, or if I run out, then we can certainly send you a copy of that and you can have that information. So our organization is really dedicated and makes this a really important part of our work in the past, but especially going forward into 2024. We got our organization a bit more stable following the pandemic with our core mission of obviously promoting this destination for travel and meetings, conventions, and sporting events. So now we can do some of the other things that bring people here for the reasons that maybe none of us had thought about previously. So we're very excited to have this going forward. We appreciate your support and involvement, and I'm looking forward to the next steps with you. We do have a networking event following this, so maybe we can all talk about some of the things that came up and things that maybe sparked your interest or making a connection with someone that you could partner with on that. So it's literally right across the hall. There's a free drink for you in it and some fabulous food. I would like to also take a moment and thank Kelly Wogamot for being here. Kelly's with Travel Michigan. Travel Michigan has been one of the leaders in state travel offices in promoting accessibility. They have led the way. They have $1 million grant out right now that we're all furiously applying for. The deadline is Monday. I'll get it in. So they've been a great partner. We hear it when we travel around the country that, oh, Michigan, you're doing a lot in Michigan. So we're proud to be a part of that as well and be a leader here in our own destination. So thank you all for coming. I appreciate you and look forward to the next steps. And please join us right across the way. Corey's been guiding you as she's standing there.